We're good. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to bring the planning board of the Town of Pownell January meeting to order. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the December 17 meeting. Did anybody have any changes to make? No. I move that we approve as submitted. All in favor? I'm unsure. I don't think that the site walk actually constitutes a meeting of the planning board. So I don't know that we need to approve those minutes. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're recorded. So does anybody have any changes or comments about the site walk minutes? I move that yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Kate Day, Poland Range Road. I looked at those minutes briefly today, and there were a couple things that I wanted to suggest.
Okay.
Couple of sort of inaccuracies. One is with regard to this project, I was listed on there as a select person, which indeed I am, but I'm not liaison to the planning board. And it's very important to me that it be understood that I'm there as a resident and as an abutter and not as a select person. And if anything regarding this project comes before the select board, I will recuse myself because I think there's a conflict of interest. So
Totally understand.
I'd like to have that struck from there if
We can do that
possible.
for sure.
And then I don't believe Matt Welch was there.
Okay.
And a good friend of mine was there. His name is Michael Bomser, and I didn't see his name on there. Maybe it is, or it was misspelled, maybe. Yeah. So I think that's all.
Okay.
Good evening, Dan St. Denis, Poland Range Road. So I'm listed there as a guest. I was not there.
Okay. And this is why, to be honest, the site walk is what it is. It's a little chaotic. I don't even know if minutes should be taken at a site walk. Reading through the minutes of the site walk, there's little bits of conversation here and there. So going forward in the future, I'd like to look into whether or not that's something that we actually need to do because of the chaosness of what a site walk is. So I'll throw that out there. But since I'm being told we need to accept these, let's make the changes. And I motion that we approve the minutes for the site walk on January 10 as amended. No further conversation? All in favor?
Can I hold for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm wondering if we should call them something other than minutes, because it was really, I think we were just trying to, I think the recording was going on just to capture any questions, but I'm not sure that these represent all the conversations that happened. So I'm wondering if we should just call them something other than minutes,
Yeah.
like
Notes.
sidewalk notes, I think might be more accurate.
Right. And that's my problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's, yep.
It's not truly, it's not like this meeting where we are taking a very
Exactly.
accurate representation of what happened, who's here. That's, so if we want to call them, again, if we want to call them notes, we can approve them, but I really don't, I've got to be honest, John, I don't know that I see. Okay, yeah, and that's what I don't understand, so I totally appreciate that. So we should call them minutes for the purposes? Yeah. So we'll stick to the plan. approve them as minutes and then move on? Okay, we'll do. As I was saying, I move that we approve the site walk minutes from January 10 as amended. All in favor? Okay. Before we move on to anything else, I'd like to give Becky a chance to do her thing so she doesn't have to stick around too long.
Thank you, Becky Taylor Chase, Town Administrator. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to bump up. We're just going to have a quick discussion on the planning board budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So I wanted to bring some updated numbers from the ones I sent to you in December. So this year's fiscal year, we have 8,000 budgeted for town expense. That is for items like training, advertisement, office supplies, and any legal fees that are associated directly to the planning board. We have spent $1,568.22. We're about halfway through the fiscal year at this point. We have what we call the consultant line, which is for North Star Planning, and that's for the direct support of the planning board. We currently have budgeted $30,000, and we have spent $5,786.25. Revenues have not changed. They stand at 300 budgeted and 500 collected. So there's some question about the direction we're going in planning services, and we are still ironing out the final details, but what the plan that we're working on right now is going to an independent contractor coming in at up to 8 hours a week, and I'll be presenting that contract to the select board next Monday for approval. What we're seeing with this is I feel this is going to be a lot more direct support to our code enforcement officer and indirect support to the planning board. They're going to have very specific guidelines, working mostly on ordinance updates with LD 2003, 1829, and a few others, and working specifically on that. They'll do monthly check-ins with any of the co-chairs of the planning board and the CEO. That could be in person or Zoom, and be, just fully upfront with everything they're doing. Because I feel that it's going to be more direct support to the administrating office, I'm going to put that into the general government budget line. So what you need to do is review. Now with North Star, they're staying on, though, working in, like, if we had to update the conservation subdivision ordinance, I would send that to them because they started that. They're working on impact fees right now, and there's still going to be direct support to the planning board on subdivision applications and the like. So that's where you need to look at what you think is appropriate for a budget there.
Okay.
Questions? There's a lot in like 2 minutes there, so.
Can we get that written down?
Sure, I can send it in an email. I have to send the budget numbers tomorrow morning to the budget committee and the select board ahead of my presentation on Monday.
I don't think, so the thought would be to just leave our budget the same.
Okay,
I mean, is that, we don't seem to be at risk of going over budget.
correct.
So I run a tight ship for sure. So I don't have a problem with leaving everything the same. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
And Monday's the initial presentation. So if things change, over the course of a couple of weeks after, it can be represented in the upcoming co-budget and select board meetings. We have 4 meetings of presentation. So if something changes in between, then we definitely have time to alter.
Can you just do me a favor and break out of the non-North Star expenses? Could you just break that out for me?
And what is office supplies? What is legal? What is?
Yeah, like what are,
Okay,
just so I can see where we're spending the money and then
Yeah.
gives us a better
I
idea.
can get that to you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got to go through the expense lines and break them out. I think most, no, I think it's been very little office supplies. You've had 2 site walks, so probably about 300 of that's advertising. The legal ones is the one I would need to go in and add up.
Okay, so when we consult Ben, the lawyer,
When it's
coming out of that,
specific to the planning board.
Got it.
Yes, anything else, yeah,
so
goes
that's
under line.
probably the majority of that
Mhm.
number I would anticipate.
Yes,
Okay, all right, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
That works.
okay, okay.
And if that's 6 months, And we've had a couple of decent sized projects come through. And
Yes.
so we're probably doing fine.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't see a problem with that at all.
Great,
Okay, cool.
great, thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Um, yeah, so, under old business, we just had the Stetson site walk. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be present, but I don't know if somebody has, any major, takeaways from the site walk that they thought would be important to note here at the planning board meeting? Or specific comments? Not really. Peter, did you have anything you wanted to add or talk about tonight?
I'm really just here to listen to any discussion.
Yeah,
Any recap.
okay. I don't think the plan was really to go over too much as far as the plan. Yes, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that, I think based upon the walk and comments we heard from people with us on the walk, the quality of the road remains, I think, a top question that requires more data to assess.
Yeah, that's my thought as well. Hey, Peter, were you guys looking into getting a traffic study of some kind done?
Yes, I think we'd like to get things a little closer, nailed down to where lots may be going before we get the traffic engineer involved.
Okay,
But that's one of our next
yeah,
steps.
I would think that that's probably a key piece to this. And I say that only because if worst case scenario, not knowing, say worst case scenario, the traffic engineer says it's not going to be able to handle however many, whether it's 20 or 15, if the road can't handle that, that's totally going to change your plans, I would think. Yeah.
Recommend that, not just a traffic study, but a study of road condition and how many vehicles, how much traffic it can take.
Yeah.
Beyond what is taken right now.
So where would that come from?
That's something that you can request the applicants to. Is have a study of the road, engineered appraisal, I guess, of the road condition and how much. Once they find out exactly how many houses they're actually going to have on that side of the road, then will road condition currently handle that much more traffic?
Yeah, I think I would like to, I think that's really important that we get that information. I don't know exactly like how that's done, who to ask, what kind of road study we're looking for, who you go to. I assume anything, because of the stage of the process, unsure if that's something that we have done and the applicant pays for it, or if we just let them do their thing. They understand that the road is potentially a big issue and let them do their homework before they come back to us. So I've been I've been kind of waffling about how to approach that, and I'm open to any ideas.
I just reflecting on what one of the budding neighbors was talking about was that it's going to be hard to quantify if there are multiple subcontractors building the houses in the lots. That's going to be added traffic, multiple vehicles going in and out. And that was a concern that they had, rather than it being a one contractor that's going in.
I can do some research on that.
Okay.
Find out the answers to some of your questions. So the question so far is, who contracts and when?
And what exactly the study looks like. I mean, I have a sense of what this study the information this study should give us, but
We ask for?
what do we ask for?
I think it should probably include like the maximum potential load. And we've
I
got,
would say,
let's say 20 lots, but if you start adding ADUs and all this LD 2023
right,
it's out there, I mean, you're talking 2 to 2.5 times that
right,
in terms of traffic count.
yep.
Have we already seen, I'm just curious in terms of what our own town department is putting into the road already, just for, it'd be nice to get a baseline of how much they're putting into that road already. And then, once we get this study, we're gonna be able to see what the impact is on the town as well in terms of, can that road take it and what that maintenance looks like. I think that's one of my concerns here with the application is we've got a lot of evidence in some directions and we have nothing in other areas that it's obvious we have some concerns about.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think to continue that, it's a little bit anecdotal too, but I mean, like through the seasons, right? I mean, like I think drainage did not look like it was great over there. And talking about how the freeze thaw cycle, you get all these muddy, wet spots because the water's not draining. So spring's coming up, so now is actually the right time of year, but just understanding what that
Right.
road actually looks like where it's dumping out on ground.
Yes.
John Morris, Chairperson Select Board. There's case law that dictates town responsibilities for roads and projects. So I would suggest that in collaboration with code enforcement officer, the planning board direct very simple question to the town attorney, give his interpretation of what the town's responsibility is in this particular situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're eventually going to get to a legal conversation. So might as well do it
Okay.
in the beginning. So I think that's something that's in the purview of the code enforcement officer and just have him do it.
All right.
I'm sure our code enforcement officer is going to do that anyway, but I just record that publicly.
Thanks, John. Okay. So, I think we'll kind of leave it at that for now.
Okay.
And, I'll leave it up to the CEO to come up with the next steps. And then once we get, I think the road hurdle managed one way or the other, then I think it would make more sense to talk about lots and locations and that sort of thing. Does everybody agree with that thought process?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I think there's leeway on the applicant side of, they can present information to us and ask us to vote and say, you have submitted a packet, and then dive into the road stuff then. But it might be better for the applicant if we answer some of these road questions first, because then that will help, potentially help determine where, you know, what the application looks like and where lots make more sense. So there is, if the applicant wanted to move forward without answering this question, I believe they have the right to submit, you know, an application and have us review it. And then later on, this road issue will come up, but it potentially makes more sense for the town and the applicant to get more understanding of the road situation in order to understand where best lots would go and what potential road they would be off of.
Okay.
I will say during the site walk and in the comments we received, you know, the many comments we received, the public appreciated the thought that went into the application and recognized that the applicant has a great appreciation for this land and, you know, wants to do something that they feel is special on the land. And there is appreciation on the public that there's a lot of thought that has gone into and work that's gone into it thus far.
Okay, thank you. So.
You want the public comment for this now or at the end of the agenda?
I think, you know, to be honest, Bill, at this stage of the game, because of the status of it right now, I don't think we've heard a lot from the public about this specific issue and where we're kind of at a pause. I think if you want to wait till the end to make a public comment about it, but I'd really like to keep going with the agenda at this stage and not get too hung up on something that's really kind of in flux significantly based on the conversation we were just having. So you're free to make a comment, but I'm going to make you wait till the end. Sorry. So we'll put that to bed for now, and we'll wait on the CEO. And let's move forward with new business. We've got a project over on Hodgson Road. Michelle?
Michelle Garrison, 185 Hodgson Road. So I'm not here submitting a subdivision application. So I'm here for some clarification from both the CEO and the board. I want to start with, so I've done other subdivisions in town and they went really quite difficult. So I'm hoping that this process isn't as difficult. I want to go through what I see as what I want and then understand from you guys what I need to give you guys to get to my end result. I've appreciate Mr. Schmidt and Tim. They met with me in August, and then since August, and I think they'll both agree with this, I've had nothing but conflicting information. Like, we're gonna go to the lawyer, we gotta do this. Oh, the lawyer said I can write a note. As to where all the conflict comes from, this is a pretty simple process, and I'm trying to follow the ordinance, and you guys' job is to interpret the ordinance. So I'm hoping that we can get some clarity today as to what direction I should be going in. So to give you guys some back history, I'm not a professional here, so I'm just a homeowner. You guys.
Thank you.
I think I have 4 copies, but they're with me. But
And we can.
Thank you. And also to whoever the secretary is, thank you for getting me. So, okay, I didn't know who it was. So she graciously got me on the planning board. She also sent me a link of an application that needed to be filled out. And just want to bring it to everybody's attention because it is important that we know. So she gave me the creation of a single lot application. So I did fill that out in time in order to get on the planning board for this agenda. Then after that happened, I've been requested to fill out the subdivision application, which I have not filled out purposely. So I'm gonna go through the history of this. If you just look at the first page, this is the old Bigelow property on Hodgson. There was a subdivision that was completed by Patricia Bigelow back in 1997. And at that point, the map 7 lot 35 was broken off and they created, 35 and 3501. 3501 only, so that's what your first page is demonstrating. Okay, so it's all by itself. Then you go to your second page, and in 1998, Bigelow, what was his first name? Sorry. Roscoe Bigelow broke a piece of land that has never been developed, no house or anything, to the Dunnings. Okay? So no subdivision, no amended subdivision was done at that time. There's somehow the land ended up going to the Dunnings. And then you'll see that as map 7, 3502. Okay? So map 3501, which is the big parcel that I'm here talking about. 3501 and only 3501, which has 67 or 69, I can't see that close, feet of frontage. I want to put one single family home on map 7, 3501. In doing that, I don't have enough frontage to do that. So I need to put a road in. Okay, so that's apparently, if we have to put a road in, has to come in front of planning board. So my question to planning board on that, and then I'll keep going, is does it need to be engineered? How much of this property needs to be surveyed? There's a lot of costs associated with this. Normally, when you do a subdivision, you amortize those costs across all the properties. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to do one. And so, there's in the zoning, there's rules that says like the CEO can waive if the parcel is over 10 acres, so do we just need to, like, I can tell you where the house is gonna be. Do we just need to survey that section? Or do we need to survey the whole 80-something acres? Because that's quite expensive. Then we go, which makes this even more complicated, the last page. In March of 2022, Jennifer Giddings broke off from the original parcel, the 35 parcel, and she broke off a buildable lot with road frontage. No amended subdivision, no subdivision. She had the frontage, so she broke off that lot. Again, I'm not here asking for anything to do with that lot. I am here asking for just 3501. Now, this becomes complicated because through many, and Tim, you can speak up whenever you want, but through many conversations with Tim, Bill, different people, whatever, it is being amended right now. The attorney has told me he could amend it. There was a clerical error. And when I bought 3501 and 35, they are on the same deed. They're on the same deed with two different parcels listed. They are due tax purposes. They were combined years ago for tax purposes. I said, people are struggling with the fact that they're on the same deed to the attorney. Can you just break them back off? One into our LLC, one into my name. It's just so people can get that out of their head. Because again, I'm just here for 3501. So my first question is, are we looking at this when we look at this proposal as this all as one piece together? And Tim might want to answer.
Got a few questions.
Awesome, hit him, hit.
So what properties do you own?
I own them all.
Oh, you own them all?
I own 3501 and 35.
So what are you asking for?
So what I'm asking for, so if you go, this is just the history on how it's been broken out so that we can know that these breaks have been more than 20 years.
Yeah.
So this is the last one. So right here, the 67 feet, I'm asking to go in there, which has been cut, to go in there and put a single lot house in there and to put a road in there, so many feet to get to the front.
But you could put, you have access to your property,
Well, I do, 67 feet of access.
right?
Yep, I can go there, I just can't build them.
Right. So it's an unbuildable lot.
It's unbuildable without the road frontage, without the road put in, yes.
Okay. So you're looking for, but you also own 3502.
No, it's still in Deming.
Okay, so you own 35. So you own these two lots.
And if you look at.
And this lot only has 300 feet of road frontage.
Little over 300, altogether, they're like, if you put the two together, and that's where the $1 million question comes in, it's like 359 or something.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. So what you're asking for is, you want to try and put a road in
Mhm.
to gain frontage on 3501.
Correct.
Okay, but you own 35.
Correct.
Okay.
And there was a split on 35. I'm going to give all the information. There was a split on 35 in March of 2022. So in March of 2027, that'll be 5 years.
Okay.
If you combine 3501 and 35, that then comes into play. And I recognize that.
Um,
Am I explaining it right, Tim?
Got a few things to say, but
Okay.
So the only purpose of the road is to gain frontage so that you can build a house.
Yep, and I will, full disclosure, I only have an intention of building my house today. However, 15 years from now,
That's unimportant.
okay, but I want to be like full transparency.
I think that's irrelevant
Okay,
for what we're talking about, to be honest.
only let
Um,
select people in anyhow.
So, so you're asking under, section 610, if you could build a road.
Help me
Oh,
out
yeah,
with
sure.
610.
Sure, something. So I have done a lot of research on this, on how it's been done in the past and also the legal method to do this. So how it's done in the past I researched 3 different lots that this happened with. One of them the one way back, went to the Board of Appeals. Why, I don't know. There's no explanation for it. The second 2 went to the single lot ordinance, which is single lot, not single lot subdivision. So we got to.
Which is the application, fill that
We
single
get-
lot application.
So the single lot is an ordinance by itself, which really shouldn't have anything to do with subdivision.
Agreed.
So I did ask the attorney for an opinion on this, and his opinion is, since it was part of a subdivision, it needs to go back to re-subdivision. So, and I did, I sent everybody out, or I sent it to Marcia today, and she sent it out. Something from the state explaining what revision, a checklist explaining what is a revised subdivision. Did anybody get that?
I read it.
Okay, so in it, roads and access, altering internal roads, driveways, or access points, changing road layout or specifications. So that in alone triggers to be re-subdivided.
Where, but from the legal opinion, is that something you can, oops, sorry.
We're gonna talk amongst ourselves.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Let us just
No.
let us go through the details you've given us,
Gotcha.
but you could actually sit if you want.
Okay.
And then if we have more questions, we'll ask you.
So I think it's important to remember, though, that as Michelle said, is they're not splitting any lots. So it is the same amount of lots. We're just allowing them to build a road to make their lot conforming.
They're proposing to build a road. So, yeah, did somebody have a comment?
A quick question. Is it clear when people buy lots in general, that they are buying like an unbuildable lot or a buildable lot that like, it's made clear to them that they have the road frontage or they
Getting to
don't.
that.
Yeah.
Could we, just before we look on the last subdivision plan, which, by the way, was Roscoe Bigelow splitting off the second lot. Yes.
So according to our legal, that was just a survey.
I have,
Split.
I have minutes from the planning board meetings. Okay. So, if you look on the original plan here, it says, as most plans do when this happens, this isn't uncommon. There's several lots around town that this is the same way. Couple of them, as I said, have been bid on already. Bill Smith's was one of them. It was the same way. So if you look on here, they had them write this in. Parcel is not a buildable lot until all ordinance requirements are met.
That's correct.
So this is how they get their ordinance requirements met, is to come back to the planning board and get approval to build the road.
So I'm gonna, I don't think, what I'm confused about, and I've been looking, and actually, I think this is actually a super interesting application, because it really forces us to kind of go through the ordinances in a really specific way. So I don't see, I'm going to give out my thoughts first, I think, and then I'll just let everybody chime in on their thoughts. So I'm confused about the focus on where the properties came from, because we're not actually dividing the properties any further than what has already been divided. So what exists. And so now we have a property, regardless of how it got there, when it got there, that only has 60 feet of road frontage. So now the question is, can the applicant put in a road, which falls under section 610? The problem with 610 is it says clearly, the applicant shall submit an application to the planning board for review of a proposed new public or private road in the form of a surveyed preliminary single lot subdivision plan, which is why you submitted that, a site plan, or a preliminary minor or major subdivision plan. Technically, this project, this parcel doesn't fall under any of those. So in a sense, it's not applicable to build a road based on the section 610B1. The other thing I found looking through the ordinance is if we just look at the definition for frontage, frontage is defined as a boundary that abuts a road. So say if we go back to their the proposed road, can you pull that up for me? And so the frontage definition is obviously under definitions. Yeah, go to that one, please. Oh, nope, sorry. Yes. So if we look at this one, the proposed road is on a right of way in the middle of the 67-foot access point. And so therefore, there's no lot line that actually goes on the road. And so by definition, they can't gain frontage because essentially it's just a driveway, and you can't gain frontage off a driveway.
Can I comment?
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
If this was done in the very beginning, you would see much, I mean, maybe not exactly that layout, but you would have seen this in the plan. So the original subdividers chose not to design a road yet. They were not asking for a buildable lot. So, as I said, there are several lots like this around town, and there's several examples of this happening in the history. So
How would it have been?
this isn't new.
How, like, you
No,
wouldn't have been able to create you wouldn't have been able to create this without 300 feet of frontage. Like, it never should have been
Yeah.
approved.
You can create unbuildable lots.
Yes.
So
It's
get back to what it says on the
not a
plan
buildable lot.
and what is written on a lot of these plans with the same thing. Unbuildable until all
Until they-
ordinances are met.
Right, so how do you, that's the key question. You're saying that they put in a road, but what I'm saying is the road by the definition in the ordinance does not provide road frontage because there's no lot line abutting the road. So really,
Well, I think just a finer point on it, like the minimum lot width is 50 feet and you don't have it there. On that, like, you're left with 7 feet.
yeah,
The minimum lot width is 50, so like you can't even, well, to your point, you can't get a wide enough lot line against that road to gain the frontage. And it just, in general, it kind of seems like it's just a loophole.
it
to try
still
to make
wouldn't, it's still, yeah, I was kind of thinking about that too. You bump it off onto the side, but it's still their boundary, no matter where they put the road on that 67 feet, the right of way is entirely within that property. And so they're not going to have a boundary line on that road to meet the definition under frontage.
Well, interior, you would, but your lot is gonna be 7 feet wide here.
No, but it's not a town road. It's on a right of way.
Well, but
So-
theoretically, you build an actual road, a private road to get frontage. So
Right,
you ask.
but it's, yeah.
Can I try to certify it a little bit more? So you keep on saying it's on a right of way. It's not on a right of way. It's property that goes with that lot. It's not, it doesn't cross another piece of property. It's all on one piece of
Right,
property.
exactly.
So the road will be built on that one piece of property. It becomes a road, a private road, and the frontage for that lot now comes off from that road. But
It's,
it's much the same as if we were going through this with a brand new subdivision.
no, but what I'm saying is this. In a right of way, you own to the center of the road, right? If I have a private road, say in any subdivision, it's on a right of way. That's a 60-foot right of way. It's over a piece of property. You essentially, you still own to the center line of the road in a private road situation.
Association.
Because you still have to pay dues to maintain the road because you own literally part of the road. So where we're talking about a single lot with a road right through the middle of it, they own to the center of it on both sides. There's no lot line there. I don't care that it's a road. There's technically no lot line on that road because it's a driveway.
I guess I disagree. We are creating a road. That's why, it goes to the planning board to create a road.
Right.
I don't know where the right of way question there. I don't know how to answer that.
It would be different if there was another property on the other side of the road, because then that,
There is another property on the other side of that road.
so the,
If you
In the-
look, it's going right up beside lot 35. Right. So the road will go up beside both of these properties. No, go back one. It'll go beside this property and this property.
yeah, but it's still, so really it's still totally within it's still totally within the property. And I think ultimately, I don't see how you're creating, unless you're saying to me that you actually think that the lot line goes all the way around that road. But it doesn't, because they still own the road. Because it's on a right of way.
So how would you handle this in a brand new, starting from scratch? How do you handle roads?
So there would be a reason to have the road, which would mean you'd have to have one of these things that we talked about, right, under 610. So it would be a subdivision with the appropriate amount of road, or appropriate amount of road frontage, whether it's a minor or major subdivision. The problem here is it's a non-conforming lot. So they don't apply to any of the reasons under 610. I mean, that's flat out.
So that's why it needs to go back to revised subdivision. So what you are being asked to do is finish the subdivision.
But I mean,
Nothing's changing.
can't the planning board just say this is an unbuildable lot, you don't have the road frontage, and we deny the request to put in a road, and then they could go to appeals or request a waiver or something?
Right.
So I have to say, it's also our attorney's opinion that this is the way to handle it.
I don't,
But I think I understand where you're going, Todd, but I think, I mean, the circuit breaker is our dimensional standards,
right.
right? On the table
Yeah.
on page 45, the minimum lot width is 50 feet. So even if you don't use the full 60-foot right of way required for the road, even if you just take the 20 feet of road coming out of 67, you're left with 47. But I think you would take the full 60-foot right of way and you're really only left with 7. So now you've got a lot width of 7 feet, which is not permissible.
So also in the ordinance, it says, you don't start counting frontage until your lot is 40 feet wide. So that kind of, I think the reason why that 50 feet is in there is if you're talking about net residential area, anything that's not 50 feet wide is not counted as net residential area because you can't fit a house and the setbacks within that 50 feet. So
Right.
it's not developable area. It's not that you're not allowed lots any narrower than 50 feet in places, because there are a lot of them there are. The 50 feet is there for net residential area calculation.
Specifically? I mean, we could have stuff from before. I mean, the ordinances have always been amended and changed over time. So it's kind of more, what do we have today? No, we had, and I think, I mean, again, it's kind of funny that this was allowed, but I guess you can do an unbuildable lot, but it's still unconforming and not buildable technically. I think, I mean, just the broader issue here, I mean, kind of where you were going to, Todd, is it's not explicit here, right? I think the intent is that the only time you would put in a private road is for a subdivision, not to make a non-conforming lot conforming. So even if you look at this as a revised subdivision, the division's been done. You're not dividing anything else. So you'd only put a road in based on sufficient frontage. And I think, this kind of goes to our discussion later about amendments. I think we maybe should quantify that. I think the assumption has been, and the loophole it's created, is if you have 60 feet of frontage or more, you can put a road in. But I think the intent has always been you need 300 feet frontage plus to put a road in, really like 360, because you're eating up 60 of that with the road right of way. So I think we should kind of revisit that, but that it ties in here.
Yeah, I mean, the concern, like when I look at an individual applicant, my immediate reaction is, let's help this individual applicant and be reasonable and, look at everything on a case by case basis. But at the same time, then you have, you set a precedent that then other people can refer back to in the future. And so my concern is, if we just take non-conforming lots and then say, sure, you can put roads in and build on them, what's to stop people today making a bunch of non-conforming lots and coming back in 5 years and saying, I want to put roads on all these, and basically they've created a de facto subdivision that didn't have the road frontage in our rules, but they're finding some loophole to get around it.
So if you want to talk about setting precedents, I found at least 3 areas where this exact same thing happened in the past. So does that not set precedents that it can happen?
I think it can happen, but that's what I'm saying. Just because it has happened and it can happen doesn't mean that every time someone comes forward asking for a road to be built and they don't have enough road footage, that the planning board should just automatically accept that because it's been done before, especially if our ordinances are clear saying how much road frontage properties need to be buildable lots.
I mean, it's basically a loophole.
It also says in the ordinance how much space you need for a private road. 60 feet.
Where is that?
They have 60 feet. I think we're really need to look at. This is an unplanned subdivision. And do they have the right to voting?
Does the road fit within the ordinance?
Where does it say that, Tom? Where is the 60 feet for a road?
It's in the road standards under
Buried in one of those exhibits?
Appendix A in the back. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, minimum width, right of way is 60 feet. It's not frontage per se. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, and we're right away.
We need 60 feet for a right of way. It doesn't mean you need frontage. Like, I think that's kind of the issue. That's where I'm getting at. It's like, it's not explicit. So what's the intent?
It's not explicit.
Right. I think we should make it explicit. But the intent seems to be 300 feet for everything else that we've looked at.
The applicant is here before this.
Oh, I get that, yeah.
Reminds me of. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of properties. In a subdivision, already been subdivided. We're doing this.
But it's, so where, can you point me to the language where, because it's an amended subdivision, that this would be allowable because it's not under 610? No, I don't think so, in that they're not changing boundaries. They're not adding new lots. They're not removing or combining lots. They're not really altering internal roadways, driveways, or access points. They have the access point. That's not changing.
No,
They're literally adding a road.
which is changing, which is altering.
Yeah, but that would imply that a road already exists. There is no road.
That to say all roads, subdivisions, road layout, subdivision.
But there is no road.
But it's a subdivision, they're changing the road layout. There's no road, there is a road. They're changing it. It's subdivision.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, yeah, that's, I'm trying to do the same. But I mean, it literally says, I mean, changing road layout would imply that there's a road there that exists that you're now changing the layout. Or altering internal roads or driveways implies that a road or a driveway already exists.
Why would they have the second bullet? We just need to see this clearly.
Yeah, I got you.
So I didn't realize that 35, like the original lot, was in the same ownership, and I was looking at this. So maybe there's a creative solution here, right? What if you combine those? You now have 367 feet of frontage, and then you do a back lot. That
That would-
seems cleaner.
That would be the cleanest way to me to do it. Otherwise, where,
Because to Ryan's point, then someone could have 480 feet of frontage. Create one lot with 300 feet of frontage that's truly buildable. Have three more lots to be a minor subdivision with 60 feet apiece, all unbuildable, noted on the lot, and then come back and try to put three roads in, and then get a waiver to make them a driveway, and now you've put four houses on 480 feet, when you really would need 1,200 feet.
yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
So prior to purchasing this land, the back lot was the quick, easy solution. And so I spoke with code enforcement, and the back lot was an absolute no right from the beginning. I'd be happy to do this as a back lot right now.
Is the pre-existing lots of record, is that why?
Pre-existing lot, so the pre-existing lot, what I was told is because I gained ownership of it in 2025, and I had to have ownership previously. So like this, my little presentation is actually three-part, because I actually have that and another option as well. To me, when I read the backlot ordinance, which I have here, it states a pre-existing, and looking at all the deeds, I can prove that 35 and 3501 were in the same name together prior to 2016. Obviously, I wouldn't have spent $800,000 on this lot to go through this.
Yeah.
But I would be happy if you guys as a board said, you are not allowed to put a road in. I would be happy with that. And you could say, you can have a back lot. It'd be fine with me. And the last, and then you guys can go back and talk about it again. The last part is, if you want to deny the back lot based on your ordinance, then I encourage you to read your single lot ordinances and explain to me why I can't just build a house there right now, based on the single lot ordinances. What says multi-houses?
You don't have the frontage.
If you're telling me my lots combined, 35 and 3501, I certainly have the frontage.
Oh, well, yeah, that would be.
Exactly, but this is what I'm saying. You guys have to tell me. It's 35 and 3501, one lot, two lots, no lots.
So is I guess I don't really see, I understand the concerns and the issues that you're having about the properties, for sure. Our job is strictly you're requesting a road to talk about whether or not that's applicable. Based on the ordinance, and the real question is, can we cure your 60-foot frontage problem with a road?
I think it's important, Todd, to understand that nobody back 20 years ago would have made this lot 67 feet on purpose. There's a whole bunch of lots in town that have 60 feet of frontage that can get the 50-foot road in. That's why people did it. It's not a loophole. It's here. It's been here. And also too, you have to, I know the ordinance of today, something may have changed, but I don't want to spend more time with attorneys, but an attorney would have a field day with this. Like, it is clear, and there's so many 50-foot roads, and that's what people do. They put the road in and they get the frontage. So if you're saying like, oh, Michelle, you can put the road in, but you got to put more than one lot. Okay, fine. I'll put two lots in. I mean, it's actually refreshing to me, but I want to go through all three steps here because I think it's really important. The other thing too is, and I've been through 3 subdivisions in Pownell. This is the first time that I spent a lot of time with the ordinances. These are terrible. There is so many mistakes. I called Becky to say, Becky, this is referencing like, blah, blah, blah. It's referencing Article 2. I can't even find Article 2. Article 2 doesn't exist on our website.
I'm gonna cut you off.
Sure.
We totally get,
It's terrible.
and so we're this is what we're working with.
Mhm.
I guess what I'm unsure about is how do you want us to proceed? Because we're not gonna have all the answers for you, obviously.
So my first request is for a road
Yep,
based on my 67 feet. And I would like the road, I'd like a waiver. If I have to do the subdivision application, I want to know exactly what you guys want from the subdivision application, because there's a whole bunch that are not applicable to a single lot. So that's my first. And if you want to deny that straight up, fine.
Yep.
My second would be, why don't we look at the backlot ordinance? And if you guys want to approve that, great. And my third would be the single lot.
okay, that's fair.
So that's the whole thing.
Okay.
The backlot thing though, can we just do a backlot waiver?
No,
No.
The 2016 things.
I think, I don't know how that, I don't know how that would work. I think, as the applicant, suggested, the first thing that she is requesting is a road. The first question we have to answer regardless of the main subdivision revision checklist is how is the applicant applying under 610? How is the applicant applying for a road? I know the lawyer said, Ben said that we could just make up an application, but I really don't think that's appropriate. I think that the ordinance is actually pretty clear. I mean, there's a ton of mistakes for sure, and it's been a nightmare trying to learn these ordinances, and I still don't know them all that well. But it pretty clearly says under 610, which regulates road construction, that the applicant shall submit an application to the planning board, blah, blah, blah. So I think the first part is we've got to figure out what, how the applicant applies for a road under 610.
We have an opinion, I guess. The CEO and the town lawyer have an opinion on a way we can move forward. In some ways, I am okay with going forward with their recommendation, with the acknowledgement that in the past, ordinances may have been divided in such a way with the understanding that the 60 feet wasn't enough. And we're respecting that historical perspective, but that going forward, subdivisions, if people are dividing, since we have come up with newer standards talking about 300 feet of road frontage, people should not be expecting that 60 feet is enough.
So that being said, how does the applicant?
Does that make sense? Or I don't know.
How does the applicant, that being said, and that's valid, but how does the applicant apply for the road?
Well, Tim, you want to say what your perspective was on this,
So
how this works?
as I said before, the application needs to be for the subdivision application, and we're finishing the subdivision. So you're gonna make sure everything meets the definition of the ordinance in finishing the subdivision. That's why it's a revised subdivision. So I also have to, I talked to Ben Smith from North Star about this too, and he agrees with this concept too.
Defined, or that's just the
Yeah.
best way to try to, but that's just
And
the best
I
interpretation they can come up with?
do want to clarify what Ben, what he said. See if I can't find it real quick. Because he didn't say that this was, I'll see if I can't find it, because the language is actually important.
Tim, while Todd is looking for that, can you just make it clear for us, when you go for a revision of a subdivision or an amend a subdivision, is it the full application or are you only speaking to those items that you are amending?
You were speaking to the items you were.
Okay, thank you.
Just one other question we were looking, what exactly is a preliminary single lot division plan in 610B1? Is that just like some artifact that's left over?
Can you repeat?
So 610B1, right? Says a preliminary single lot division plan. Dividing, it doesn't make sense.
I will say in terms of as Todd is still looking, in terms of reading 610, in terms of reading the main law, we may indeed have, especially major subdivisions that aren't fully built out, and that this is going to come up again and again. So I think this is another place where we need to make the ordinance much more clear and explicit if we were requiring a certain amount of frontage for that road. But I could absolutely see somebody subdividing and then changing that and getting more money and deciding they're going to do something else with it, with the leftover pieces that they hadn't built on or built the road on yet. I could definitely see that happening, especially after years, decades.
So that, I mean, that's what fits in the main subdivision law. So
Changing road layout.
every 5 years, you can go through subdivision again. So because this is part of a previous subdivision, when you go through subdivision again, it's a revised subdivision. But I think we're confusing everything here because there is no more lots being split off. And that's the confusion here. If, again, I go back to if this was starting fresh with 100 acres, there's no problem here.
Right, but they would also need to meet the standards of a subdivision,
And they still do.
and they still do. And they still do how?
They have enough road frontage to construct a road and make their own road frontage.
If you interpret right of way as frontage, that's what's unclear.
So I think you go back to what would you do in a subdivision? What do you do with the road in a subdivision? Who owns that? As Todd said, it's a private road, so the abutters maintain it. They have an agreement on, how they're gonna maintain it and everything. And then the property line goes to, the tax bill goes to the center of the road. Correct?
I think again, I really think, I applaud you guys. I want you guys to do the research on this. This is why I'm here, but like I'm in a subdivision in Durham. I have 0 road frontage, 0. I have a 50-foot right of way. And that meets state subdivision standards. I understand Powell's a little different and unique. However, there are certain exposures that I think you're definitely opening yourself up to here. And that's why I agree, it's clear as mud. But Wyndham, 50-foot right away, you can put a subdivision in. Durham, 50-foot right away. I'm talking 0, I do not own 1 foot of road frontage in Durham.
Yeah, that's Durham though, so,
State subdivision.
right. I can't find it. There's been so many freaking emails. The gist of it was that he was saying that this is the way that they could apply for the road, but not necessarily advocating for us to vote on it one way or the other. It was that this is the path. And I'll continue to look for that.
I think, is that the only clarity that the applicant is looking for, is choose a path?
No, well,
Because we don't have an application in, is that correct? Yeah. So there's nothing for us to vote on, but we're trying
there's,
to
there's
determine the
not.
path.
We're just, yeah, we're trying
Yeah.
to give, I think the way I'm reading it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you want some clarity from us, the board, what we think about this situation in accordance with the ordinances so that you can make the proper application and then come back before us.
Just look at it from my perspective. I've been dealing with this since August with Tim, who's been great. Bill has been great. Okay? August. All we've done is ping pong back and forth since August. So that's when I sat down and said, I'm not gonna keep filling out applications. Planning board sent me an application and did what the planning board asked me to do, filled out that application, which is why I'm here. We still don't have clarity as to which direction I should go in.
Yep. So, and you're kind of caught in a bigger question, I think, for the planning board. So, and that's why I said in the beginning that this is a pretty interesting topic, because it's less about you and more about the ordinances. And so I really think that one, this conversation is incredibly worthwhile, even though it may be boring the audience to tears. But I think it's valuable because it is complicated, and we've got to make these decisions thoughtfully and follow the ordinances to the best of our ability, because they do have impact down the road. So I think it's worthwhile to maybe we're
And maybe I'm misunderstanding because I'm not on this stuff, but I feel like Tim has been to the attorney. He's served you guys with information. This has been going on since August, so September, October, November, December, January. I'm 5 months into this.
Yep.
And I know that the planning board doesn't
we
have
just got into it. So
well,
to be honest, so we've had this for a week.
okay, so like.
So your emergency is not our.
I'm glad that you feel that way, and that is okay, Ms. Mullen, but you guys discussed this in your August planning board meeting. It's recorded. So it was brought up then. I went through and read all the tapes, and Tim can attest to it, so.
A hypothetical was brought up. Yes?
And so I assume that conversations from that hypothetical continued from August to here.
We've had nothing going on since August, for sure.
Okay, no.
So,
Yes, I understand.
so we've had plenty of time, and not to be flip about it, but we've had a lot going on. And when we have these hypotheticals, when we have time, we try and go through them to sort this out, because this is an ongoing project.
Okay, so
So we're going to do our best to give you an answer about what we think about the road application tonight. We'll do our best to do that for you, but it all depends on our little conversation.
So then
No.
I should leave this, wait, I just want to make sure I'm 100% hearing you right. You guys have not had multiple conversations since August about this hypothetical? No? Okay, I just want it on record, that's all.
Maybe here or there, but hypothetical, like I said, we've had a lot going on. So I don't know, since your name wasn't attached to it, whether or not we discussed a road under these circumstances. I mean, maybe we did.
Yes. I do believe you did, but if you feel you didn't have adequate time, if you guys could vote on it, it'd be great. I'd like to keep this moving. If you have there's three options here in my mind that are all somewhat okay. But I do feel that there's definitely a broken system, and we've been building houses in this town since the beginning of time. So, we've got to still be able to build houses.
Okay.
There is I was looking for North Star email, and, back in December 18th, he was saying, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of back and forth on whether this should be a backlot or a driveway or a subdivision review process. And we've encountered more information as we learn about the history, and the history does matter of, okay, is this a lot or a subdivision, and how recently was it divided? And so it can be more convoluted. And I do express appreciation that, for you, you've been going on this journey for a long time, and you talk to somebody with the town and you feel like you're going in a direction, and then you feel like, then you hear something that's totally different. And I appreciate that. And that's part of the problem with hypotheticals too, is that hypothetically, it's like, oh, somebody has a lot. Yeah, put a driveway on or put a back lot on. But then once you start getting the particulars, and you have all these different ordinances, and is this a subdivision? When was it subdivided? And then that creates more complexity. And
Just to be clear, I don't know why it was presented as a hypothetical. It was brought as a full plan from Teradyne Consultants. I mean, it wasn't a complete plan, but it was brought as a concept. So whether my name was or wasn't attached to it, it's relevant to me.
Yeah, sure.
So the previous planning boards were
I
actually
mean, yeah,
quite strict
yeah, go ahead.
and very strict. In fact, when I have 60 feet of road frontage on a public road, that's it. That's all I have. So the town forced me back then to actually build a 300-foot road, because now you get your road frontage. If you have 60 feet of road frontage on a town road, you can build a 300-foot road. Then the 300 feet is for road frontage for the house. The road doesn't need 300 feet of road frontage on the road. The house needs 300 feet of road frontage on your house. And I think my brother's the same way. There's probably a lot of them. That's the way it's been for decades, right? If you've got 60 feet of road frontage, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim and I have been all this. If you get 60 feet of road frontage on a public road, assuming there's no ledge or streams or safety issues, you could build a private road. And then once you get it 300 feet out, you can build your house.
So, again, this is not new. This is something that's been common practice in town.
I get that. I get that it's been common practice, but I don't,
It's not explicit in the ordinance.
yeah, it's not explicit. I think it was allowed to happen. This is my impression. It was allowed to happen, but it's not explicit in the ordinance. And you're basically circumventing the ordinance by just allowing a lot with only 60 feet to become buildable. It totally defeats the purpose of having that minimum standard if you're allowed to just build a road. But if this is a subdivision, that's a different problem. So according to the ordinances, I would say that 60 feet of road frontage isn't the only standard for building a road.
No, we're looking for the 300, which is why we need the private road. So I guess I'm not getting as confused at this. I think this is an amended subdivision.
That's a different, yeah, I think to me that makes the difference somewhat.
Yeah, this is an amended subdivision. And if we want to make it more clear in the future, I think we absolutely should. And put in the word frontage here. I think that it's with actually people who are weighing in on these things, but that's why people put in private roads to get the 300 feet.
Also, the lots, the subdivisions that have happened in the past that kept the 60 feet for this purpose, they're also going to be amended subdivisions. So if somebody had a raw piece of land that's never been subdivided and they don't have the 300 feet, they don't have the 300 feet. They go to the Board of Appeals to get a variance to be able to build on that lot.
And that's almost what I've been thinking is really, I don't see how the ordinance allows even, and it's just my interpretation, but I totally get the other interpretations. I'm looking at the ordinance with a minimum frontage of 300 feet and just building a road on your property to create that 300 feet of frontage circumvents the meaning of the ordinance, number one. Number two, the homeowner could apply for a variance. I mean, they just need a driveway. They already have access to the road. You could ask for a variance to be allowed to put a driveway in. But you'd have to be able to claim hardship. And to me, that actually seems like the most reasonable, that would save these guys a ton of money because they don't need to put in a standard road. It allows them to put a house on a non-conforming lot. And you're not circumventing the ordinances.
It's clear the ordinance at the time contemplated 300 feet, which is why it says it's not buildable. So
Right.
I mean, it sounds like that's pretty explicit on the plan.
Until it was made buildable. It says in there, until something happens that it becomes buildable, which a road would do. If we were to build 5 houses here, which I think if we wanted to really subdivide this, we could actually build a road all the way, it looks like there's a lot of land back here. Like, we could build a road all the way back here, and doesn't that get us what we need?
No, because you don't have the road frontage.
The subdivision. I'm building a new road.
Yep,
I'm amending it.
yep.
I just want to be really clear
Yeah.
of what's here and what we are interpreting, because that's where we get into danger.
Yeah.
I don't,
I think from a single lot perspective, it doesn't work. I mean, that gets to what you're looking at 610B1, right, Todd? That seems like you're.
I'm looking at 610B1.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems like the intent there really says the only reason you're putting in a private road is to do a subdivision, minor or major.
Right.
And major should be cut and gone because it doesn't exist anymore, so that's a change. But like I mean, again, that kind of goes back to the question I had earlier. What is a preliminary single lot division plan? That should probably be struck too, because that doesn't relate to anything. I don't know what that means. It seems like some just legacy term.
So would the application be under a minor? So the applicant under these circumstances would apply? And it says, I mean, it does say preliminary, minor, or major subdivision plans, so which this isn't really, it's an existing. So Tim, let me ask you this, because it's not a new minor or major subdivision, if we're looking at it under the main subdivision checklist, how do you make it work under that? What is this document telling us?
So the document is telling you, when to consider the applicant the application in front of you, a revised subdivision or a new subdivision.
So, so that leads me back to how are these guys applying to build a road if it's a revised subdivision and not a preliminary subdivision?
I'm looking up the definition of revised subdivision.
And does it require the planning board to make a judgment call on it if it's a revised subdivision? Because under 610, it only talks about, again, preliminary, minor, or major subdivision plans or preliminary single lot division plans.
So, sorry, it's under revision. Re-subdivision, a made-up word. Also known as amended subdivision. The division of any existing subdivision or any change of lot size therein, or relocation of any street or lot in a subdivision. 29.
Let me catch up to you, Tim. So that's defining what an amended subdivision is, which it says, yeah, just like you read. Again, it talks about the relocation of any street. So, that gets back to it gets back to how they're applying for the road. What form, if this is an allowable, if this is allowable, how are they applying to put in a new road in an existing subdivision?
A revised subdivision, so they're gonna have to come to amend the subdivision that's already there.
So they'll have to come back to us with a subdivision plan. So basically, the application is for a minor subdivision.
Again, for clarity, does the applicant only have to address the road when doing the revised subdivision, or do they have to do all of the parts of the subdivision application?
So they have to prove to the planning board that they meet all the criteria of the ordinance. So they have the soil, you're gonna have to have the road design and all of that you would normally have in a subdivision from scratch. So, you know, they've got to have make sure they get enough lot density, their setbacks are okay, that, you know, that their road frontage, they've got at least 300 feet. All of that needs to be proven that they can make this last lot a buildable lot.
Thanks. What are you amending? Just the last applicable division? So when
So you're
3502 got carved off of it?
You're amending that it was marked unbuildable until all ordinances have been met. They are coming and you're making sure that they are now meeting all the ordinances that makes this a buildable lot that's already been created.
Assuming the ordinances allow for a road on 60 feet, which I think, again, is still unclear. So it's sort of like an open-ended, if at some point in the distant future, the ordinances change and allow 60 feet to be applicable and you can do it. So
I
are we
think
there?
if you want to have that discussion going forward, I think that's great. But I go back to, all these subdivisions in the past that have kept 60 feet intending just to do this. I mean, it's like I've been saying, this is nothing new. This has happened before.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I understand that, but I I'm hesitant to go along with something just because it was done previously if there's not evidence in the ordinance to do it again.
And I need evidence that it's not allowed, because
Yeah.
I'm looking at the number 60 here. And I know moving forward, we might need to make it explicit, but I need evidence that this is not okay. And I think if they had intended the ordinance to not allow non-conforming lots with 60 feet, then they wouldn't have kept building them or allowing roads to be put in on them. So I have a little trouble with that logic.
Flip side, I mean, the logic is just flawed in general. Like, if you're 300 feet of frontage, why would you ever allow non-conforming lots? I mean, I don't understand why people are going to create them.
Right, but we have to deal with the reality in front of us and the reality in the historical context. And I'm not sure we are grounded in evidence and ordinance that supports us departing from that at this time. I also would love if there was another solution to this, because
Well,
I don't want a road, but
How much frontage does 3502 have?
I would love a creative solution.
Is there donor frontage available for a trade to get to 300 feet? Or is that, I can't read this. It looks like there probably isn't. Like, does 3502 and 3501 have 600 feet or more combined frontage? No.
It's above the 350, which therefore what led me to the back.
Well, I'm 3502 and 3501.
No.
Right. But in theory, you could swap maybe some front land for rear land. I mean, what do you know their frontage?
Yeah, it's great.
Well, it doesn't matter. You need to stick. No, I get that, but I mean, we've seen that before where people have done land swaps to their neighbors, right?
So getting back to the problem at hand, especially if this is a common problem. So based on where we are right now, regardless of the specifics, somebody is trying to gain road frontage to create a buildable lot from what is currently a non-buildable lot. They need to come before us with a minor subdivision application for the entire subdivision.
What do we mean by the entire subdivision?
And how far back does it go?
So again, I think you have the subdivision where it stopped. It stopped after the second lot was broken off. You go from there.
Okay.
We're looking at 35-1 and 35 as the subdivision.
Go 1 and 02.
35 is already a lot on its own. So I don't want to put a monkey wrench into this again. So
To get this sorted.
if somebody, this is something that happened in history. Over on the Merrill Road, the Barrel Tech or something like that, they wanted, after the last reval, they'd just gone through subdivision. And they split off the house with the rest of the property. So they got a tax bill for both properties and didn't have any intention on doing anything on the second property, so they realized they made a mistake. So the course of action to correct that was go back to the planning board and annul that subdivision. You had annulling is amending the subdivision. So no matter what, I know the attorneys put this together, but in the town's view, because this is part of a subdivision, anything that happens to this property, you have to go back to the planning board to have a revised subdivision. See, I didn't want to say that.
To answer Orion's question, you're going back to the last one that's applicable, which was carving 3502 off of 3501. I'm following the history correctly.
Yes, that was the last one. Okay. The other lot that was split off from 34, that was a single lot division because that was an original lot number. So
then-
that was, if you look at the single lot ordinance, it has to be.
If we're looking at that as the subdivision,
Hold on. So
502, I know Tim's opinion is saying that that was a subdivision that is not a recorded subdivision. So because it was not recorded, that also could throw some monkey wrenches in referring to that as a subdivision. Subdivisions have to be recorded within 90 days of approval. It's a law. And that was the
So we can't amend
So just, it's another potential like monkey wrench.
it did go through the planning board. I've researched the minutes and it did go through. Evidently, it just never got recorded.
Yeah. It's what rules behind subdivision, not recorded.
You're making this harder.
No, I'm doing my part. I'm doing.
but if we call 3501 and 3502 the original subdivision, then we're saying basically 3501 is getting its road frontage off of 3502. Is that the logic of like it allowed to be a subdivision in a way? I don't know.
Another monkey mentioned that this will clear it into how you're thinking of it. How would you handle this if you look at 35? They say it right, 35 and 3501 as separate ownership.
It shouldn't matter. Yeah. It's a subdivision. All the lots would be expected to be owned by,
This. That. Yes. Or what you guys want to do. 3501, sorry, I don't know why I went that way, it should have gone, the original law was, the original law should have been wrong, Mr. Bigelow. And so it's weird that I don't know the reason why they put this, that's odd to me.
It's the original number stays with the house.
Oh, okay, so the way you cut it off, house, but thank you for clarifying, that's great, I kept looking at it.
And I have to, make this a little lighter here. In researching this, I didn't think this was a subdivision before because I know the history and I know this was divided because of divorce. And divorce does not trigger subdivision. So I didn't really know it was a subdivision back then. So that's part of the confusion that I put on this is that. So back when that happened, I can't remember the date, the planning board caught that there was a division and made them come to the planning board and do a subdivision, even though they didn't have to. But they did. Yeah, something like that. Yep.
I would seriously throw out the suggestion of applying for a variance from the minimum road standards to the Board of Appeals, because that erases all of the need for this. And I mean, that's really, and maybe that's that's foolish, and I don't want to send you down a rabbit hole.
Be a lot cheaper.
It'd be way cheaper. And I'm just looking at it from a common sense standpoint.
Yeah.
It's stupid, literally stupid, to put a road in for the purposes of a driveway. And if you can do it, if you can put the road in, and I don't know what the Board of Appeals would say, but if you can put the road in and it's a driveway, I don't know if they would allow you to just put the driveway in, knowing that this lot could be a buildable lot if you had put the road in. That eliminates the need for you, A, building a road, us wrestling with this whole nonsense about amended subdivisions, what lots, where, when, who. We don't need to get a survey. It becomes a single lot and the CEO can take over.
Yeah, huge can of worms.
Huge.
Then you'd
Yeah.
have everybody with 25 feet of road frontage going to the Board of Appeals.
Yeah. So this is
So part of the-
the problem. I
so
mean, we're
part of the
kind of
cri-
doing the same thing.
Something that
in
the
a
Board of
sense.
Appeals has to weigh on is this a hardship that was created by the property owner? So
Yeah.
it was created by the if you're looking at it that way, it was created by the property owner when it was subdivided, and they kept the 60 feet.
The only problem with that is, Ms. Harrison wasn't the original, she bought the property knowing full well what the limitations were, so
Buyer beware.
buyer beware.
Also knowing full well. At least 6 that I can come up without even trying. House 7 by 7 properties that have roads on 60 feet or less. In order to get their road frontage for the house, I like how Bill said that, I think that helps clarify what you're getting the road frontage for.
And I think that's where we have to be really careful of precedent. Maintaining that 300.
So, so I come back to, we need a subdivision application. Bottom line.
Do you need a subdivision application? We'll ask a couple questions on that, since you have it here. In the ordinance, it states that the code enforcement officer or the planning board, any acreage over 10 acres could allow a survey plan of a lesser or more. So I'm proposing, this is already in the works, the surveyors are already out there, and I'm not going, this is a 82 acre parcel, the back 40 approximately acres is pretty much just like slopes and bounds and rivers and stuff. Nothing that we ever want to develop. We want to conserve it and, you know, leave it as is. So could I request that we do a survey just in the area that I'll be impacted?
Would that be like a waiver request or
It's in the ordinance.
just request it?
I think it would be,
I think it's in single.
yeah, I read that as well. I think that's under single lot though. Is that correct? Is that where I read that?
CEO will have the discretion to invest the certain apartments for lots larger than 10 acres. If the survey plan is not filed with Cumberland Registry of Deeds within 90 days of violation.
That's the single.
That's single lot.
It's also someplace else.
It's probably not under the subdivision. I wouldn't think so. I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't think it would be there because of the nature of the division.
Well, would the board be willing to allow a waiver?
I go back to, we already have a subdivision plan with this on there, so it's my opinion that you can waive this, knowing that this has already been checked.
The revision.
You can waive this requirement.
So you could
What
ask
is
for a
that?
waiver.
Gotcha. And then one other question that I have. Sorry, it's here somewhere. So when. I'll hold them. I have to think about this one else.
So I think we can put that one.
Can we just, to save a little time, can we go through the checklist? So the Harrisons know exactly what they need to bring back. I mean, I'd hate to have them back and say, no, now we need this.
Okay.
So. Joe, do you have the,
But I do that 9.
This is just a.
on the back of the minor subdivision checklist?
Okay, well, I have this in the checks.
Mind if I run downstairs? Apple.
Oh, I can't. No, I can't.
Yeah.
I have-
Yeah.
I have to accept it. And you guys may or may not be friends, but I brought it to Becky's attention today. Also, now I won't beat a dead horse on the ordinances, but it's also risky difficult and you. Like I can find 3 different ordinances on the website.
There should just be the one.
Just
Yeah.
One lives under ordinance, but if you just are on Google and you just do panel land ordinances, believe it or not, the 2024 one comes up and you actually have to search harder 2025. And people, when they're buying property are looking at these things to help make decisions.
Yeah. Well, if the public sees confusing language in ordinances or on the website, they are certainly welcome to bring it to the attention of the town. And we are in the continual process of trying to clean things up and make it more clear and understand that we are far from that point at the exact moment.
No, I haven't found it either.
Go figure that this.
I might
At least this one.
have something.
Okay, so requirement number 1 is a plan. 2, copy of all deeds. Copy of any covenants or deed restrictions. Waivers. Name of the subdivision. Budding property owners within 500 feet. And as I'm going through this, these are the things I think should be required. If the subdivider is not the owner of the property, evidence of subdivider's right title, interest of property. Printed list of the names and addresses of all abutters within 500 feet of the original parcel. Both sides of the street. Thank you. A fee. Name, address, signature, registration number, and seal of the state licensed land surveyor. Evidence submitted that the CCRD was filed and recorded within 90 days of the planning board approval with signatures. I don't know if that's going to be a problem. Total size. Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of looking at these and saying, okay, it's a revised subdivision, but the total size of the parcel, lot dimensions on the plan, where applicable, existing buildings, all parcels of the land proposed to be dedicated to public use, location of any open space, field survey of boundary lines of the tract, building envelope drawn on the plan. Select board must approve new name, road frontage requirements. The parcel that is to be subdivided shall have road frontage surveyed, while the land that is to be retained may have approximate road frontage. Where applicable, culverts along lot lines fronting any abutting street, private road show a point or distance along the lot where the curb cut for a driveway would meet the minimum site distance described. Where applicable, location of 100-year floodplain. Where applicable, any main DEP reports, permits, et cetera. Where applicable, location of any wetlands. And if somebody hears something that they don't feel should be included, let me know. Where applicable, location of any wellhead protection districts. Where applicable, a stormwater drainage plan. Where applicable, Army Corps of Engineers written reports, permits, US EPA or Maine DEP written reports, soil reports, note on the plan for following the main erosion sediment control practices, where applicable, location of underground sand gravel aquifers. If required by the board, the applicant shall submit hydrology studies for the parcel. I don't think that'll be necessary. Vegetative cover type and the essential existing physical features. That could probably not be required. That could probably not be required.
Yes.
Thank you, please. Wake up, Mercedes. So, as I'm flying through this, the only thing I'm unsure about is, the hydrology study. Do they have to do that?
I mean, we'll have to look at the previous one and see what's going on.
Was that the one that said at the discretion of the board, we may request?
If required by the board.
I think we have evidence. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
kind of,
mean,
what I'm thinking.
When a homeowner puts in a lot on a single lot, do they have to do a soil survey anyway for the septic? So this is all gonna have to be done anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah, I hear you. So, yeah.
well, you are putting in a road.
in the area that's to be.
There's a stream there. Yeah.
If you want to combine the two, the single lot, which is not a subdivision, I keep on saying. The language in there, I think it's, you can require down to 10 acres or something like that to meet your wetland study and all of that.
Hmm.
And you can make that as a request. When the variance is asked for.
too. That part, the building lot, the road.
So that would be a waiver request, you think, on the wetland study? That we're saying?
I don't know, because the building road, I think you need the wet.
Yeah, yeah,
And
but
that-
they don't need to do the whole
They
property.
do not
That's-
need the whole.
So would that be a waiver request to not have to do, because typically we would they would need to do the whole property that's under the minor subdivision.
Again, you have a plan that's already been done with, one of these plans has wetlands going on.
Okay,
So Tim, would you be willing to go through the list with me, what's already been done? Because the other alternative, and this is kind of what I alluded to beginning of the conversation, is to do all of the minor subdivision requirements. It it's not cost effective at all to just put some. And so, if I'm gonna do, unfortunately, won't be the place I live again, so, if the direction is to do a full minor subdivision, on a single lot, requesting, then I will revise and go back to four to make it cost effective, unfortunately.
And it becomes a conservation subdivision.
yeah,
Which I can easily meet the conservation subdivision requirements because we want to preserve all the backland anyhow, so like whatever the 60% of land or what have you. That's just it, before I spend any more money in engineering with incorrect directions or this is, so I didn't, I wanted to make this my own personal home, but at the same time, I'll have budgets to work with it, so that's the decision I have to make. So my question is, if I come back with a minor or conservation subdivision, is the 69 feet of frontage gonna creep up again before I do all of the expenses?
well, for a major subdivision, for a conservation subdivision, you need 600 feet road
Well,
frontage,
can't do a conservation subdivision.
That's
I've got
right.
that.
right?
So that's easy, so minor subdivision, or
So a minor subdivision, you would need to, each of the lots would have to get 300 feet of road frontage off of a single road. And the road can only be 600 feet or longer with a waiver. So that might impact how many lots you could actually put on.
we would, already have a design for waivers, to request a waiver for 750 feet because of the beginning, to not create a flat of this. So, I don't think you guys would be opposed to a waiver for 750 feet, but again, just because it's been done in the past doesn't mean you guys are gonna be willing to do it now. So I'd love a little direction on that before I continue with the engineering.
We already have 4 lots, so we're at a minor subdivision here.
That's what,
You
this
can't
is,
put another
Yeah.
minor subdivision within it.
Right, because then.
We're- this is capped. Yeah,
You don't have the frontage.
no more lots can be built,
Yeah.
like subdivided off this. I don't think that, but
The voted on direction.
Well, it's just the
it's
ordinance.
just the ordinance and the number of lots that are in the subdivision. Yeah, you become a conservation.
And I can't be conservation because we don't have.
Right.
So.
Were you keeping track of which ones I said?
The cameras.
Okay, yeah. I know Mercedes wasn't paying attention.
You should
Okay.
make the minor subdivision checklist easier to find on the. web.
Yeah, they should.
Did you fi-
I found a link somewhere, and then when I click on it, it said error 404, so.
added 20 layers.
Okay. how long are you gonna be with your CEO update? So we're gonna move on from that topic. We've already done the budget process.
I can make it real quick.
Yeah, let's make it quick.
Let's see. There are a couple proposals in the early stages of things that could come to the planning board. Right now, they're kind of up in the air. And other than that, other than the ordinance review things, which we should go over, but if we don't have time, that's okay. That's about all I have.
I did read the changes that you made. The only one I had a question about was under the frontage definition that you put 300 feet. But the way I read frontage is just the definition of what frontage is. And that it's like how you define frontage, but it doesn't necessarily, like the Harrison's lot, for example, they have frontage. And it's not 300 feet. That's still their road frontage.
Okay.
Is that 67
So the
feet?
definition, assume keep frontage.
That's kind of what I was thinking when I read that.
So where would you put the continuous standard? That be in the 500 in the,
I think it's just under the lot ordinance,
okay, section 500.
because that now we're talking about, okay, you need this frontage defined under definitions. And this is how much you need, and that's under a different.
Maybe you could, for clarity though, add an asterisk or something that says the section 500 for like, rules around frontage or something, so that, people read the definition of frontage, but I don't know, then they realize that there's more clarity about what it actually.
I'll work on that.
Do you have any comments on these things or not?
At the end.
Yeah, at the end, trust me.
So one thing on that, it should be continuous, not contiguous.
Right, that's why I wrote out there.
Yes, contiguous would mean, like, that's, we're specifically saying it has to be along the same road. It can't like be a corner, which we clarified in other areas. So contiguous would mean touching. Could be, right? Continuous would be a continuous on a single road.
English was not my major.
Yeah, that's just gonna create more confusion. And we'd addressed that before.
Yeah, so you want to say specifically a single road, right?
Continuous feet of frontage on a single road, yeah.
Yeah,
We don't have the corner.
right, yeah. Exactly. Good pickup. Anybody else have anything else to add to that? As stated, a work in progress. And Tim, we do really appreciate all the effort. It's been a lot.
So I don't know if Becky hit on this or not, but in the budget, actually starting soon, there's going to be a person hired to specifically go through the ordinance and apply LD 1819 and make sure that the other one, 2003, is correct. And then after that happens, there'll be other things that she'll work on with the planning board and with myself to correct some of the issues. Start.
Is the state giving us any money for that?
They haven't decided yet.
I think that was the intent they claimed. they would give money to towns to help them comply, so hopefully they do.
Okay. Under communications,
Sorry, Todd.
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, since we're on this and it's fresh, should we address this issue that we were just debating?
Yeah,
How we make it clear in the ordinance?
First, you have to decide what do you want to allow it or not?
yeah, that's the first question, whether it's allowable.
I think the intent from 610 seems to be that the only reason you're putting in a private road is for a subdivision,
Yeah,
minor conservation.
yep.
Not that you're putting in a road within a single lot to make it conforming.
Right,
Because, I mean, again, to your point, you're not trying to put in a 20-foot wide, 300-foot road that's ultimately gonna be a driveway to a single family
Right.
house. That's completely, I think, just the wrong interpretation that may have been used in the past. So I think we should specify that. So like in 610B, maybe we strike any reference to single lot. Major should be conservation, and then maybe just explicitly say that, you know, a road can't be added to a single lot. It's strictly for subdivisions.
How many lots would we have that would not conform without amelioration? I think is one of the things we're just gonna have to grapple with. Like, do we have a bunch of lots in town that have less than 300 feet and would become instantly unbuildable? You know, without this way that the town has dealt with it in the past. I just think we need to just think it through. I don't know how many that would be. I think we can stop it moving forward or make it very clear, like, you can't put in a road without this much frontage as well, because that would get you around both. But I don't want to create a whole bunch of unbuildable lots with no future.
well, I guess the question is, under this case, it's a subdivision.
Yeah.
And so there was intention that maybe you could put in a road or amend it in such a way to create the frontage. But you can still create a lot with 50 feet of frontage. And if you do that, it's not part of a subdivision, it's not buildable. I don't know.
The only way that would happen would be if it didn't go through subdivision. The only other way to divide property, in Powell, you have the single lot, unique. But you could divide property through divorce or through will or things like that. So it could happen at some point.
Yeah.
And the lots that are out there now that didn't go through subdivision will have less road frontage. It's pre-ordinance.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
but I do have to say that, you know, if you're gonna take the ability to build a road in single lot, you're changing the way that everything has been done.
Doesn't mean what was done was right. I mean, you'd have to go back like the specific ordinance at the time.
Ordinance was written is with that.
Okay. Okay, so we can continue to debate that. But it's a debate worth having, for sure.
I think we should definitely clarify.
Yeah, yeah.
What's our timing on this, Todd? What's our timing on this, Tim? Like, we needed this,
Beginning
these,
of March.
okay.
To get one more.
Okay. So we'll see what comes up on that meeting. Maybe the next meeting, we should really focus on ordinances, and maybe if we need to throw a workshop in, that might be a good idea. Okay, let me think on that while we're going through the last little bit. Sorry to keep everybody waiting so long, but if anybody had any comments, feel free. I'll open this up to whoever. Yeah, go for it.
Continuous, contiguous, there are lots that exist right now in the town. From a real estate perspective, making that change, those when like a mortgage line inspection process comes, you are making those homeowners' lots a problem. Because they don't have it. So like, how are we gonna address hit me, yes.
When you change an ordinance, you change it from that date going forward.
Perfect. So the town will be equipped to deal with, because there is a house coming up for sale that I know does not have the 300 feet continuous.
Yep.
And so when the mortgage line inspection person approaches the town, there's gonna be someone qualified to answer that. Okay, awesome. So that was my first one. And my second one goes back to what we've been talking about, the 69 feet, the 60 feet. And saying that I don't qualify for a minor subdivision because there's already been 3 breaks. First of all, the lot that is considered number the lot that is map. The lot is 35-3. 35-3 has 300 feet of frontage. It was just never went through amended subdivision, never went through subdivision, and is just a single lot. How am I being charged with that being one of my lots in the parcel that I bought? And same with the Dummings property, which is the other 3502. Again, that has more than enough frontage to meet the single lot ordinance. So then you can go back to 35, which also has enough of its own frontage as well. So something that we've done for 20 plus years here, having 60 feet of frontage, putting in a road to gain frontage for your future houses, I don't see how those lots can be used against me.
They're derivative.
Yeah,
What was that?
They're derivative.
right.
They've all been divided off the donor lot.
So that's how we're gonna go forward with this.
That's
So
the way
that's
it's
how
always been.
Yeah.
You can divide properties so many times and then it becomes a major subdivision.
It's a 5-year,
Yeah, there's a,
once you have 5 years of recess.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, Todd, I mentioned that my notes from the December 17th meeting, they need to be added to the approved minutes.
Do that.
For the Stetson project, interpreting the conservation subdivision ordinance being a new ordinance has been a bit of a challenge for Mr. Cram's team, the town planners, CEO, and the planning board. Mr. Cram is a nice piece of property, but not ideally located for a big subdivision. One thing is for sure, for the lot density calculation, we can't get road frontage by pretending that the farmhouse doesn't exist or the current property lines don't exist. They do exist. We can be kind and understanding, but at the same time, we need to be straight and blunt and tell it like it is. We can't get road frontage by pretending roads, driveways, wetlands, or other obstacles do not exist. To pretend would set the town up for a lot of chaos in the future. There might be a desire to push things forward rather than consider the facts, but the calculation on the Brown Road need to go back to the drawing board with a focus on reality. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
that is something we flagged to go back and look at. That's another thing that should be added to the ordinance revision list.
How we doing?
Good.
Everyone ready? Go home,
Yep.
have supper? Okay. Dan St. Denis, Poland Range Road. So for the site walk, I never received notification. So I just have a question. We all know how reliable our postal delivery is. Certified mail for those notifications going out, maybe? I'm assuming those get mailed from the town hall
What we
directly.
can do is check to make sure that your name was on the list.
It was.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Like one of the main abutters.
right.
Oh.
There could be lots of, like, maybe the you were on the list, but the letter wasn't there or, yeah, I apologize.
Yeah. So I'm just, maybe food for thought for like future notifications, potentially like actual certified mail.
Yeah, sure.
The town website or the.
I would suggest, if you're concerned about this project, that, we're going to be having a lot of meetings about this, I assume. And so that we have this meeting every month this
Yep.
time. So I think it would behoove you to just pay attention if you have concern about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Come to the meetings.
Yeah.
Because it's always on the website, the information.
Right.
So for sure.
Yep. Thank you.
Love having you guys here, so.
Yep. The other thing, obviously, just to reiterate, a lot of discussion about the road impact, the safety, right? Public safety is obviously paramount. On both sides of the road are state routes. So I feel like, another avenue for traffic studies, safety impacts, things like that, maybe reaching out to the Maine DOT, since they obviously have purview over 136 and Route 9, just because you're gonna have increased traffic turning onto those routes and also coming off of those routes. So I feel like it's not just about the town road itself, Poland Range Road, but also the traffic impact on those state routes as well. So maybe it might be worth reaching out to Maine DOT for any of their input. They may say no, but I think it would be worthwhile. Just because obviously the safety, the road, it's a major concern. That's all. Thank you.
Russ Schmidt, 36 Poland Range, and just on that same topic, I just happen to be concerned about the road also. So I have a traffic impact study and traffic impact analysis for Tim's home. It's just what's involved. Everybody on Poland Range would like to see that in detail, just to get a clearer look. And that way it can drive Dan to know what he's going to have moving forward and give some ideas too. To ask him to guess what something would look like in the future without understanding the traffic, the components that the roads are made out of. He's brand new to the job. Everybody has to remember that Poland Range started out at Goddard, and Goddard was from the 1800s, right? So up until 1970, the Poland Range Road, which was still Goddard, I think at that point, was not a through road. It only became through in the 1970s. And most people, if they can attest, they've been down the road in the fall or the spring or the winter. It's disastrous. And it's got 4 or 5 different spots on it right now that are actually deadly. So I mentioned to Tim, we'd have a game, we'd take some triaxles out. One would start on one and one would start on the other, and we'd see how far we could keep going back and forth before we mowed into each other, because the road's pretty bad. So I would love to have anybody that's on the board here to at least cruise down it right now, and you'll find 4 or 5 huge, good little ride. Yeah, there's some frost heaves there, which implies the road construction is trash, right? It just was never built. It was never really built as a road. So there you go. Thanks.
Anybody else? We're public comment.
Shane Brady, Allen Road. I guess like the biggest issue that I have, or the biggest like dilemma, is has anybody on the board ever like consulted with anybody on how to interpret ordinances, or is it just like a free ball?
This is just a comment.
Okay. Could I recommend that the board takes like a workshop and consults with either North Star Planning or somebody else to go over the ordinances and learn how to like interpret them? Because if the board can't interpret them, how are the developers supposed to? So that's pretty much it.
Appreciate it.
One last one. Oh, sorry, one last one, real quick. I will make it quick. Stetson, I've been following that too. It's super exciting, but my question is, and I don't know if you can answer it, I'm lost as to how the lot density in the ordinance, it says you can only have a 600-foot, you can only use 600 feet of your road. You can have a bigger road, but you can still only get 4 lots out of it. Oh, is bad? Okay. Well, I'm confused on that. That's all, because that's what's in there.
Yeah, so,
I might have missed a meeting apparently.
yeah, I think it's, I'd love to be able to help you, but we don't have time for that.
Okay.
For all that right now, I don't think, but you could ask Tim that. He'd be able to clarify that, I think, a little better.
Okay. Okay, will do. Will do. Yeah, I think so.
So I'm David Heineck, live on the Poland Range. And a question, probably for you. Why,
Yeah, all comments come to us.
okay. So is there a reason why we all the land isn't exiting onto the Brown Road? Because I look at it and I go, after the last session we had here, I took pictures of the road, our road, and Brown Road. Brown Road was perfectly fine. The maintenance crew was fixing our road, which is, it's just a terrible road. As Rusty said, you get into all these weathers like now through the spring, it's terrible. And so I have the buses have to deal with this. Anybody who's traveling down there, and I don't know if any of you guys probably don't travel down that road, but if you do take the adventure on some really muddy, crappy day, you'll appreciate what's going on down there. And so I think that's the part of what is, obviously we've expressed it a lot, but if you're going to put a lot of heavy trucks down through there, it's going to tear the shit out of that road. Sorry. It's going to tear up that road even worse than it is. And as a person who lives there and walks the road, I don't want to be bothered by, it getting any worse than it is. And it would put the burden on the town and on the road crew to maintain that, which it's already a big challenge, I think, for them, because those guys are out there and they're doing a great job. I mean, they're really working hard at making the road passable. But when it gets really bad, it's terrible. So can I ask a question about why not onto Brown Road versus Brown Poland Range?
So you can ask, but really this is just for you to make comment. What I
Okay.
would guide you to is if you look at watch the last meeting,
Right.
we actually asked the developers. I actually asked the developer that very question.
Okay.
So
I was here, but I may have missed that question. So I'm
yeah,
sorry.
just watch it on YouTube. It's a great watch.
I don't like watching YouTube. That's
Yeah.
my problem.
Yeah, so, but
Anyway, so
there, the minutes are online too. Yeah.
Right. Okay, thanks. But anyway, it's more of that concern. If I look at that road, it's a perfectly well-traveled road.
It's a developer problem.
Right.
And so that's his call where he wants to put it. Our
Right.
job is to try and make sure that
Okay.
it's safe and it doesn't destroy the road and all of those things.
Right. But I know somebody has a lot of interest in that. Maybe this isn't right. Is there any preconditions to the property, and that probably goes to the landowner, about why not developing that section?
They'd answered all those
Oh,
questions.
okay.
last time. So,
I guess I didn't hear that. Sorry.
yeah, it has to do with the conservation of the land and all that.
Okay.
The, I have a comment, just like, appreciate everybody here. Stuff like the 300 feet, just to clarify in that, we as a planning board don't just try to make up stuff. We're looking at an existing ordinance and trying to update it. And so Pownell is different than other towns in its historical, the way it's done thing, and with road frontage being a key factor that's different than other towns. So as we update ordinances and try to eliminate duplication and add more clarity, we're building off of something existing. If you were starting from scratch, you wouldn't necessarily do it the way that Pownell's done it, but this is what we're building upon. So it's a continual process of improvement and looking at what's been done before and what's written before and trying to provide clarity. And there's an opportunity as well to make drastic changes, but there's an ongoing process to do that. And so if people do have problems with a section, they're welcome to come to the planning board, select board and say that, you know, we think the planning board needs to focus on this aspect and do a drastic rewrite. And if there's a drastic rewrite, then it goes to the entire town to approve or not approve. So it's an ongoing process, and we try to consult with our CEO and outside experts like North Star Planning and legal experts. And we welcome public comment as well. If you feel like the ordinance doesn't make sense, or you feel like we're not interpreting it the way you think it should be. So I appreciate all your comments.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Can you try and make it a little quick for us?
Thanks, everybody. Chris Lombard, 58 Pullen Range Road. Just to echo a few things about the road when I've been thinking about it and listening to other people knowledgeable about it. It just really needs to be thought about how everything on the road would double or possibly even triple. That's a rarity for any road in the world, to have a population of it double and the traffic to even double or triple. And then in the building of all these homes, even if they're staggered, the trucks that are going to be pulling in and out of there, you never see them on that road. People, they know not to use this road with those types of big trucks, but that would become a yearly thing, these big trucks going in there. And then looking at the road, I became clear one day, I'm like, yeah, you never see this on any other road out there ever. Because it's built in such an old way. There are dips in the road and turns in the road where you literally don't see what's coming until you're at like 10 feet, until you get to the top, or just as you're right at the turn. And I'm like, wow, it's really dangerous, the more traffic that's on it, and all this needs to be considered. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Anybody else have any comments? No, good. Anybody on the board have anything to add, say? Next month's agenda, Peter, were you hoping to get on the agenda for next month? Since you're here, we can ask you directly.
I believe we were hoping.
Okay. Okay. What were you,
hoping to do?
yeah,
Well, I believe we were hoping to.
oh, yep, sorry.
My last conversations with Jim, I believe we were hoping to, number one, our lot density map. I think the last one that we had brought forward, we were over in the vernal pool area. So we've planned on revising that, and then come forward talking about the concept with the discussions that we've heard at the site walk and from the board. So coming back with, we had talked about, road length of 100 feet and how much farther we were, trying to finesse some of the concept.
Okay.
And give further thought to what we've heard.
Okay. All right, that all sounds good. So you probably won't have any new plan for us just to talk about, just kind of continue the discussion of the existing.
We would have a revised concept working plan.
Okay.
To show you. So we wouldn't be showing you the same old plan and just saying, how about this there and that there? We would have a graphic that would demonstrate what we were thinking.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we can definitely put you on the agenda for next month.
Great, thank you.
Was there anything else? Yeah, did you want to be on the agenda for next month since we have you here as well?
Compared to, but it seems like the last conversation you guys had that 4 lots have already been taken. So I don't know what I'm going to be on the agenda for.
Well, my understanding is in order for you to put the road in, you need to fill out an application for a minor subdivision. Because you're filling out a minor subdivision application doesn't mean you're making any further subdivisions of the property. You just have to do that in order to put a road in under 610.
Amended, right?
Amended subdivision. That's my understanding. Is that correct? Okay, so, we have Stetson. Um,
Are
I
we all
am,
good with a quorum that month? It's school vacation.
is it?
It is, I believe it is the 18th, if I'm not mistaken. Marcia keeps us on track with this stuff. Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure. I will be back home, but I wanted to make sure we have quorum.
I'm gonna be gone. And I'm gonna be gone I'm kind of like gone the month. Ryan, are you gonna be here on the 18th?
I will be here on the 18th.
Ryan,
I can make that.
Paul, you'll be here?
I'm not sure.
Okay. If we have the three of you guys, that's quorum, so we're good. Do we want to try and squeeze in a workshop I could do next week or the week after? And we have to have everything sorted by March.
Somewhere around beginning, middle.
Okay.
And, you know, and that has to be vetted by North Star and the attorney and all that too.
And so we would need a public hearing by when? Again, I know you've told me this. Okay. Okay.
What's the workshop focus?
Ordinance changes.
Actually, that's wrong. The public hearing is later than that. But
We need to have everything
you need
ready
to have everything
prior.
ready. Exactly.
Yep. And is one for the ordinances, or we can put the ordinances on the, yeah.
Yep.
And so we will have to, can we get a hard deadline of when we need stuff? Because
I'll work that out with Becky tomorrow.
the select board's gonna have to review any changes we make.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if we could get a hard deadline, but I really think because of February, I think we might want to try and get together before then. With Peter and Jim on the schedule for February, that may take up some time, and there's only three of you guys here.
28th this month, the 4th of February.
I can do both of those.
We not do a Wednesday, potentially?
We could not do a Wednesday. Yeah,
If some people weren't going to be here, I think it's really important that Jim and I get everybody's feedback, because then we'd be coming back next step. And I'd like to talk to Jim, and maybe we wouldn't be on the February if folks are going to be missing. Maybe we would wait another month till everybody was going to be here, so we get everybody's
yeah.
feedback.
I'll leave that entirely up to you. If I'm not here for a meeting, I sit down with some popcorn and watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're getting it all anyway,
Yeah,
one way or the other.
I'll review that with Jim, but even though you get it all, we didn't get the benefit of you. We didn't get the benefit of you, saying whatever your opinion was at that meeting, and so
Yeah.
we go home and we make changes or whatever and come back and
Right.
so I'll talk with Jim, and maybe we could talk to staff.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I'm pretty much open all week. The week of the 26th and the week of the 2nd. Sorry, I can't do February 3rd. So Mercedes and Brian, if there's another day that works better for you guys.
27th,
Thursday works well for me.
29th.
29th.
Looking. I'm just looking at the dates where this. Already being.
We could always go downstairs, right? It doesn't have to be
I think-
recorded.
Yeah.
It's a, I don't think
It does
so.
not have to be.
Yeah.
So I'm open to whatever.
29?
29th. Orion? Paul?
Those days are the hard days.
Yeah, so 29th works for you?
6 PM.
Yeah, let's do 6 PM. I could do, on Thursday, I could do 5. I don't know if that works better for folks. We can leave it at 6 on either way.
5's good.
5:30?
5:30? Yeah.
I'll try to be done by 8.
Yeah, that's what I'm, sooner if we get started.
Yeah, we get the hell out of here.
Okay. 29th workshop. Okay, I move that we adjourn the January meeting of the Pownell Planning Board.
Second.
All in favor?